He is out of prison. And for the first time, he meets the person whom he has idealized. Elijah Muhammad. And you know what happens to him? It's like a lover who has been away from his beloved. All he does is cry, uncontrollably. Now imagine you started life with having lost everything. Psychologically and physically, you live in poverty. Now, all of you in this class know what happens to you when you haven't had food for a while, where your stomach screams and says, give me food. And you know what happens when you go to In-N-Out? You order like a double, animal-style fries, and you say to go because you want to go into your car and eat like a pig. For the first time, Malcolm X is given a tremendous amount of power. Not just intellectual power, emotional power. And he has power over other people. You would think a man who's been starving for recognition most of his life, if not all of his life, would get drunk by the power given to him now. But no. I don't know what lived inside Malcolm to keep him sane, to keep him civilized, to keep him mature, that kept him uncorrupt, untainted by power. I mean, look at me. I come to class. How many of you are here? 20. Do you feel the arrogance oozing out of me? My sarcasm? Somewhere inside you must have sensed the way I abuse my power to push you around, to belittle you, to laugh at your expense. And I don't really even have that much power. Power over 20 people. Now imagine if you have power over an entire African American community in America. And yet something about you keeps you protected from getting drunk with all that power. What kind of a grade do you give that? Well, how do you create that inside a human being? I mean, look at all the politicians we have today. Look at the Vatican, the Catholic Church. There has never been a more corrupt organization than that. It's all about power. Now he becomes the prophet, i.e. the spokesperson for Elijah Muhammad, because that's what the word prophet means. You become a mouthpiece, not for God, but for Elijah Muhammad. There is something profoundly unique about Malcolm, and that's the following. He doesn't care about power. He doesn't care about the black Muslim community. He cares about honesty, truthfulness, justice. So when he comes to realize that Elijah Muhammad has been doing things behind the scenes, when he comes to realize that his disciples are continuously protecting him even though Elijah is corrupt, you know what Malcolm does? He walks away from power. You know, if you read the Gospels very, very carefully, what you realize is that the Jews want to buy Jesus. They invite him. They have food with him. They want to convince him, he buy his soul. But Jesus says, it's not for sale. They try to buy the soul of Socrates. They say to him, just apologize. Go out there, just don't get into a conversation with people. Just no. I don't know if you can go to school and learn those things. I don't know if they're a gift either from your own consciousness or from God or nature. But I do know that if these things were teachable, our societies and our world would be very, very different. So these are mysteries that I can't fathom. I don't know how and where to go to find them. You can't certainly read them in books. Now talk about intellectual and spiritual evolution. First he says, I only like black people. Then he walks away from black people. Then he says, I don't like white people. Then he goes to Saudi Arabia and comes to realize that white, black, yellow, brown, they all sit together and pray. He comes back and he says, I embrace all colors. Now, you would have never known that this kid at the age of 10 will have that sort of a future. You could have given him an F. You could have dismissed him completely, forgotten about him. But something about him eventually evolved and gets an A. Now, that answers your question about the grading system. Many of you in this class are 18, 19, 20. Some of you are a bit older. You may get an A in this class and your life will eventually turn out to be a complete failure. You may get an F in this class and your life may turn out to be a bit more positive. The grades you get in school, they mean absolutely nothing. You know why? They are not tested by real life. You can take a class on ethics. Just wait until your brother, your sister, or one of your parents falls ill. Ask yourself, or perhaps better yet, observe how often you go to visit them. Most of us have parents who are in their 60s or 70s or 80s. You have no idea what happens to your body, how difficult walking can be. Especially these days, how lonely people can be. How often do you visit them? Now that is called ethics. And it can't live in books. And it can't be graded in the classroom. It doesn't work. My job here is just to kind of talk about some ideas here and there, give you a passing grade, and then you can go your way. Whether you get an A or a C, I don't much care. Or an F. Let me also add, I don't really mind giving people Fs these days. And it's not because of you, it's because of the culture that you come from. You know, privilege just makes people ungrateful. That they assume that just because they physically come to class, that itself deserves a passing grade. It's not the case. You want to pass, do work. Any other questions or comments before we move on to more positive and inspiring topics? Luke, anything? Layla.
Yes. Do you think we have a responsibility to cultivate the talent in ourselves? I think that's what I heard when I listened to Nietzsche, actually.
No, I think Nietzsche is wrong. And I'll tell you why. Look, there are certain people out there who have really no choice but to make the rest of us feel bad and crappy. I don't know why Kobe Bryant leaves his house at 2 or 3 in the morning and practices basketball. I don't know why. I doubt very much he knows why. He has this love affair with the game, with this craft called basketball. Now imagine if he was to come on TV and say, yeah, you know, if you wake up at 3 in the morning and go play hoops, you'll be great. But first, I am 4'5" or 5'4". Second, I don't really love basketball the way you do. Third, just because I like watching you play, it doesn't mean that I have the talent. Some people are just talented. They have the talent to come and be great orators. I mean, I don't know why people were attracted to Socrates. But I do know that if I was to go home and read the dialogues and go out there and talk, people are not going to follow me. The mistake is that you and I live in a how-to culture. That there is a pamphlet inside every box that tells you if you follow steps 1 through 12, you'll be accomplished. Have a garage. Go to Radio Shack or somewhere, if there is still Radio Shack out there somewhere, you know. And buy some wires, some batteries, some this, some that, and put them together, and hopefully you'll become the next Steve Jobs. You know. So what you have is everyone on YouTube and other places posting their stuff. Well, let me tell you what I'm thinking about. Well, it's uninteresting. But when you live in a culture where everybody is made to feel that they are unique, well, you get a lot of trash. Now, there are a couple of things about talent and how you can protect it and how it can kind of be manifested. In other words, how it can be kind of expressed outwardly. Imagine you have never been around your mother. Or if you have never seen your mother in the kitchen. Or if you have, you've never seen your mother in the kitchen cooking. And you don't have a TV. So you've never seen Chopped. Or Devil's Kitchen. And you always eat out. Unless you're extremely lucky, you'll go to college, you'll have a roommate, he or she enjoys cooking, and then you begin to experiment and you realize, oh my God, I am really, really good. And then you change your major from nuclear physics to, culinary arts. You wanted to be an astronaut, now you're in the kitchen. Grace, it's good to see you. Good luck with everything. Now remember how you figured out your talent, by being exposed. Now if you don't have the talent, if something about you is not passionate about cooking, it doesn't matter if you're cooking next to Ramsay Gordon or Gordon Ramsay. You're gonna wait patiently, or maybe not so patiently, flipping through the TV channels, and once in a while screaming, "Gordon, where's my food?" You'll have no interest in cooking. Now, should you find that you in fact have the talent, the talent by itself is not enough because it's raw. Now imagine you're great at cooking, or at least you realize you're passionate. What do you need? Well, first you need to have access to a physical space called a kitchen, and it's to be yours. You can't just invade your mom's kitchen. That's your kingdom. You can't go to your aunt's, you can't knock on your neighbor's door and say, "Can I use your kitchen for a few minutes?" They'll probably call the cops. Now, how do you have your own space? You need to have money. You need to have a studio or a one-bedroom. Or you need to go to school. But going to school such as Laney, and we have a great program, it's not enough for you to be passionate, because eventually you're going to sit right there and someone like me is going to walk through the door. What they have is experience. You don't have that. What they have is connection. You don't have that. And being young, you have one thing: passion and arrogance. Now, God forbid if you come from an angry background, because just in case your instructor says, "You need to listen to me," you're going to say, "Listen, I didn't like my father. He was pushing me around. I didn't like my mother. She was pushing me around. I've lived on my own." You're not going to come in as a complete stranger pushing me around. I'm going to do things my way. It's not going to work out for you. You may be passionate, but you need to be in a place where you're able to receive guidance. And you can't manipulate the information you get. Your instructor is going to give you bullet points and you need to follow, one after the other. Now, if you don't have an instructor you like, it's not going to work out. Something about you must connect with the instructor. If he or she is not relatable, it doesn't matter how great they are. You're going to walk away. Now, if the instructor sees any talent about you, now remember, that instructor that you have is about 30, 40, 50, maybe 500 students. You have no idea what it takes to be in the front of the classroom. It takes energy, especially when you get a little older. Because as you get older, your time becomes more valuable, your energy becomes more valuable, your information becomes more valuable, because they're all housed in experience. It's something you don't have. Now, this instructor needs to look at you and say, she comes to the office all the time. She asks a lot of questions. Am I in a place where I can invest? A lot of time with the student. Now, here's the thing that you need to consider, Layla. This is not the 1910s, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, where people had class, integrity, self-respect. People bring their crap into the classroom and they pour it out there. Should you go into this instructor's office, they're not there as your therapist, man. They don't want to hear about your dad, your mom. They don't want to deal with your anger issues. They're there to teach you how to cook chicken tikka masala. Everything else about your life is a footnote. If you make those footnotes the main body of your text, they're going to walk away. I don't want to talk about chicken tikka masala for 5 minutes and spend 10 hours talking about your dad. It's not none of my business. I'm not here for that. The point I'm trying to make is passion is not enough. You need to have a lot of components that work towards the benefit of blossoming your passion, not obstacling. You can't do it on your own. It's impossible. You know, there's a reason why we have side mirrors. We have a lot of blind spots. You know, there comes a point, and I keep going back to this because this is what the Western culture, America, is all about these days. There comes a point in your hopefully young adult life, but usually it happens in the late adult life, where you say, I think I just need to seek therapy. And after 10, 15, 20 years of working with your therapist, you come to realize for the past 50 years of your life, you have kind of expressed all the awful qualities of your dad or your mom that have made all relationships go down, go bad. But you weren't able to see those things because you were suffering from blind spots. And the burden of once in a while becoming aware. You need a support system. None of which this culture gives you. You know, use Toby's analogy of being a firefighter. When there's a fire, what happens? If it happens to be relatively big, well, you have a crew. When you have a daughter or a son or a niece or a nephew that have some issue from inside, emotional issues that are big, but what do? You need a crew. You need a huge support system to put it out. And you trust them. They're your family. They're your blood. You know, it's not enough for you to just find a therapist and go to them. It's going to take you a few $1,000s just to create the trust. Once you trust them, then you open up. And then you won't even say everything. You become very selective. You save the goods for the last. If your therapist stays alive by then. Any other questions or comments before we have 10 minutes? Logan? Ricardo? Sure? David? Sexuality? Toby?
You said earlier, you were talking about when we're really hungry, we go to In-N-Out, we get our big meal, we go to our car in an hour.
Right.
Just,
And then diarrhea afterwards.
yeah.
Okay.
It made me think, I have a friend, Will.
The what?
A friend of mine, his name's Will. One time, he works with us. And one time after work, we were throwing around a football. His idea. We did it for an hour, a half hour. And then he said, hey, we gotta cover the pool. It's, 8:45. I need to go to Gorlo's before they close at 9. He said, well, why didn't you say that earlier? So we covered the pool. He said, you think I can walk there in time? I said, no, it's a mile and a half away. fine, well, I don't have any money, but I'll get an Uber there. Because if I don't go get there before they close, I'll go hungry tonight. And we were thinking, why wait until now? 10 minutes before they close. We would have been happy to, help you get there earlier. But it was just something.
Your comment, for the most part, has to do, I think, with what we call pleasure. And what is interesting about pleasure, it doesn't matter what kind of pleasure, what the nature of the pleasure may be. What pleasure does is it kind of paralyzes your intellect. You don't think, because pleasure consumes all of you. Okay? And then there comes a point where you're having fun and you're still getting a lot of pleasure from the activity, but something about you distances itself from the activity and says, let me look at my watch, let me see what time it is. And now you say, well, I need to go to In-N-Out. Now what you have is a competition between two pleasures. They're equally valuable. One is about, say, playing football, the other is about having food, okay? And as it gets closer to the closing time of In-N-Out, your desire for hamburger, okay, because now you're dealing with imagination. There is In-N-Out, cheese, double, fries, Coke, shake. And then if you happen to be a little clever and cunning, you say, once I'm done with the fries, only maybe 3 or 4 left, I can go to them and say, the fry you gave me was a little cold, and they give you a new one, And now imagination, what it does is, we're like boiler systems. The more you imagine something, and the more it gives you pleasure, it begins to get or occupy more space inside you, to the point that football gets diminished, and In-N-Out gets more visible. And then you say, I am leaving football and heading towards In-N-Out. All of life is about pleasure. Now consider, for example, let's just say, what we're trying to do in this class, okay? Let's say you're thinking about, calling your girlfriend after class, okay? You enjoy her company. You guys want to go out, it's a nice day out, it's sunny, you want to hold hands and walk the lake, maybe grab some In-N-Outs or grab some pizza. So you focus about our conversation, maybe 5 minutes, and then you go to the imagination, which is your girlfriend. And I can't compete with that. This is a woman you love, all right? Supposedly at the age of 18. Now, I have to spend ungodly amounts of energy, creativity, to get close to competing with what's taking place in your imagination with your girlfriend. And I'm going to throw out all these names. Keanu Reeves, Carrie-Anne Moss, Matrix, King Richards, Plato, Socrates, hoping that one of these names will kind of trigger inside you. And once there is an opening, I have a chance of competing with what's taking place inside you. And the more excitement I am able to create, the bigger Socrates is going to get inside you. And then there comes this point where your girlfriend is pushed aside, and now you think about Socrates. And then something amazing is going to happen. About 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, you're going to say, well, good, the class is going to be over. Then I'm going to go to Rachel, my girlfriend, and I'm going to tell her about Socrates. See, so first I contaminate you, and then you contaminate your girlfriend, and then your girlfriend comes to realize you're becoming a bit too serious, i.e. unfun. She'll dump you. And then you need to go to a therapist to figure out why a nice guy like you was dumped. And then eventually you'll come to realize it was all because of a philosophy class I took on Tuesday, February the 14th. And then you're going to figure out where I live. Come by, knock on my door, and say, you. You ruined my life. And since this is America, I have no doubts. You and I will go before Judge Judy. And she'll judge in your favor. Do you have any other questions or comments? We have a good 5 minutes. No one? Jamie, yes. I'm sorry, yes. JJ? Luke? Sarah? Paula?
I guess I have a question. I don't even know what I should ask, but do you have any grandchildren?
No.
No.
You make me feel really old.
You're my dad's age. He has, my and my brother's grandkids. I mean, so our kids are his grandkids. And you remind me a lot of my dad in a certain way. So I was just thinking my dad has changed drastically with having grandkids. Like, now he calls us just to talk to them. Like, he's just, his
Yeah.
entire attention has gone to the kids.
Yeah, you're irrelevant.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And, to a certain extent, to me, it's kind of like he's trying to right whatever he feels he did wrong with us, with them. And it's really interesting to just kind of, he used to be, I wouldn't say hardened, but my dad wasn't very, gentle, I guess you could say. Very rarely hugged us, or, I love yous were very important to me. But with them, it's crazy, like he's a different person. So I was just experienced.
Well, maybe if we all make it to class on Thursday, if I'm alive, you certainly will be alive because you have children. So you're protected in that sense. Maybe we can talk about parenting a little bit. It's quite complicated. Many of us blame our parents for a lot of things they didn't give us, a lot of wrong things they gave us. But it's always, I think, nice to go back in time and figure out how all of this stuff got started. You don't become parents just because you desire to be a parent. It all begins with sex. So before we can talk about parenting, we have to talk about human sexuality. And you can't really talk about human sexuality without talking about biologically we are wired to gravitate towards beauty. And beauty is something that creates this fantasy, this imagination, this sense of completion, i.e. Garden of Eden. And I think once you realize that since most of our parents begin their career as parents on the foundation of sex, then perhaps you won't be too hard on what they have given you or not given you. Well, listen, have a nice day. Don't get sick. Don't get close to people. Certainly don't touch them. We'll see you on Tuesday or Thursday.